delighted to be here today. And today we want to help bring attention to the contributions women have made in business, in healthcare, and the commitment that AstraZeneca has placed on advancing gender equity, empowering women, and inclusion and diversity.
Overcoming fear is probably one of the biggest changes in terms of obstacles that you can do. You sort of go on this journey of realizing that you're capable of more than you imagine that you are, and you're capable of developing skills that you didn't imagine that you could have. The biggest obstacle is the self-limiting assumption that this isn't for you, and just the willingness to be open to the opportunities that come along, because whilst it can be scary at the time that you're entering into something that you know that you don't have all of the knowledge and skill set that you'd like to have to prepare you for it, you learn the fastest at that point, and it's often the most rewarding times.
When I mentor and coach some of the female leaders, that is the one thing that I hear very often, and I think it's very common for the female. So I think we, if we want to help ourselves, I think taking more risks, be bold and brave in the start of the career, and kind of saying yes instead of try instead of questioning whether we are good enough, whether we will be able to do that.
We were hosting an international delegation, and we were working on this big project. And I was one of the lead engineer, and we got into the room, and remember, in engineering, it's probably 85% men and 15% women. I was mistaken as the secretary. I was 25. I probably looked like I was 15. And they, one of the attendees, one of the attendees asked me, we were walking, these poor gentlemen were jet lagged, and he approached me and said, "Do you mind please getting me a cup of coffee?" He was very polite. And I looked at him, I said, "Okay, black or with milk?" So I got him coffee. And and then when the meeting started, I got up and I started presenting. You should see the look on his face, right? But for me, it actually felt good, because it was proof to this gentleman and to the delegation that women can be very good in the STEM field. And I think channeling these challenges and sort of disbelief or distrust into positive energy and motivation actually helped me in many moments in my career and say, yeah, I can do that.
Ignoring other people's expectations for your career and for success. And there have been so many points in my career where there were expectations for success, which in my view were completely outdated and yet still set the framework. And here's a couple examples. You're not supposed to have children in graduate school. You just do graduate school. And you're not supposed to have children as a postdoc. You can't have children until you're a professor. But the way that we build our PhDs and our postdocs now means that that's really not possible. And so there are expectations that are built around somebody else's frameworks for success. And I just chose to ignore those and to create the path forward that I wanted. And I think that we're still facing those mistaken expectations daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and it's on all of us to just blow it up and think about how you define success and what you want at any given stage in your career.
This confidence piece that we talked about a little bit at the beginning, which is not unique to women, but is perhaps more prevalent in women, and not helped by the whole current social media thing, which makes everybody feel that everybody else has got their life sorted and it's only you that are struggling. So I think it's really important to talk about the fact that there are struggles, and in fact, in many ways, that learning that you do is about learning through struggle. So struggle and some degree of not getting everything right is actually very, very useful for development. That reality of it, you're not born, with all of the skills that you need to do very successfully in a demanding role, and you can learn it. I think that's the most important thing.
Specifically in science, we don't tolerate gaps in resumes. So who does that disadvantage? Women. Every single time, right? People who are taking a break from the workforce, either to raise their children or to care for their aging parents, that winds up having a long-term impact. This year's Nobel laureate in economics, Claudia Goldin, has spent her entire career working on why women are disadvantaged in the workplace. And what she has found is that the way that we invest our time is disproportionately discriminating against women due to lack of workplace flexibility or the challenges of combining work and family. And one really easy way for us to combat that is to not dismiss somebody's resume because they had a gap of a few years in the workforce and decide that their skills aren't current. Instead, I think open the door to that conversation and create opportunities for people that are trying to balance different parts of their lives.
I don't think we should make a drama. I think we should make a point to kind of prove our case. So I never spend too much time, to be honest, in kind of, thinking about that and how to solve it. But really, you have your own agenda, you have your job or your role or your result to do, and kind of, stay on that and ignore the rest. And people will hopefully learn from kind of misbehaviors. In the last 15, 20 years, I really think that, it's changed dramatically. I think we all should be proud of that. And I think the women and the companies like AstraZeneca and many others who promoted the diversity and inclusion and who promotes it for many years now definitely made a difference.
I think the worst thing women can do when they are faced with sexism at work or personally is to be a victim, to act like a victim. The best way to really change that is to demonstrate your value, to be confident in your own skin, to prove it otherwise, or do something about it, right? And I think, we all get sad, we all get upset, we get angry, but the key is how do we channel that into action that we can take instead of sort of having that victim mentality and victim mindset.
You have to look beyond your color and all the things that were talked about here, whether it's seeking out mentors or not limiting yourself, etc. All hold true. Whatever your background is or your ethnicity is or your upbringing is, use that as almost a positive than necessarily that you don't blend in or you're different. Oftentimes you can strike up conversations based on what your different upbringing and so forth. And so it's another way to connect with people. So don't use that as a limitation.
It really is about being comfortable in your own skin, whether it being a woman or woman of color or whatever. We just need to make sure we are confident and comfortable in our skin. And when you are, people see it. And they feel it, and they will treat you with respect.